morning and welcome to our super budget coverage. We don't know whether it's going to be a super budget or not, at least in terms of expectations it already is. Let's welcome the panel. With me is Navika Kumar, our political editor. I think we've presented about eight budgets together, not presented the budget. It sounds extremely pompous.
And a few vote-on accounts and interim budgets as well.
Well, thank you, Navika. It's great to be with you once again today. Good morning. And with us also is Dr. Omkar Goswami. We have a top-notch panel this morning. Dr. Omkar Goswami, well-known economist, founder and chairperson of Kirk Advisories, very well-regarded figure in corporate circles. Thank you, Omkar. Good to have you back. Also with us on our panel is Lord Meghnad Desai. Yesterday justified why Rahul Gandhi could be sleeping in Parliament. Lord Desai, it's fantastic to have you back. And my friend and very well-regarded economist, author and global strategist of Deutsche Bank, Sanjeev Sanyal. Sanjeev, good to see you today. Here with us and not from Singapore. I think last few budgets we've been talking from Singapore, and it's good to see you face to face anyway. Rajiv Kumar, Senior Fellow at the Center for Policy Research, wealth of experience that you bring with you. Gentlemen, the advantage, and of course Sambit Patra is here with us. He's representing the BJP point of view. We'll be talking to him in some time. No, Sanjeev, you've not joined our panel yet in case people think that we have a pro-BJP tilt after the BJP came to power. Sambit is not here as a panelist. He's here to debate with us, and we're going to start the debate with him in a few minutes. Gentlemen, the advantage of having such a great panel is that I can just keep shut for the rest of the 3 hours.
Don't say things
Want a
that
bet?
axiomatically.
Want a bet?
Okay, let me start.
We can have a bet on this.
Let me start anyway. I think there are three constituencies. Okay, let's start with you, Navika. There are three constituencies that Arun Jaitley has. He has the Aam Aadmi, right? Then he has corporate India, and then he has the economists. Who is he going to be able to keep happy? He can't keep all three happy, can he?
Well, certainly can't keep everybody happy, but he's going to target a little bit of each of this section.
Okay.
Aam Aadmi, the middle classes which voted for this government, clearly will be expecting something from him. And from his body language, from what he's been saying off the cuff, maybe he'll just give them a little bit, because there's not much he can give anyway, because there's not much legroom or fiscal space to do that. But he is going to give the roadmap for the reforms agenda that the economists are looking at, that credit rating agencies are looking at, because he's looking at long-term, bringing down interest rates and making business, doing business in India a lot more easier, and that's what will please corporate India.
That is outside Arun Jaitley's residence, by the way. That's his car parked outside. Navika, interestingly, he's driving his own car. He lives in his own house.
Oh,
right? He doesn't live in the government accommodation.
Well, he's shifting in shortly into a government accommodation. The reason he uses his own car is he says that he's a tall and large-built man, and he doesn't fit into the government ambassador. That was the explanation he gave me when I asked him that question.
Okay, interesting. Well, Omkar, let's start off with you. I thought we got a headline yesterday when Piyush Goyal tweeted, and Piyush Goyal will tweet only what Arun Jaitley likes to hear. He says, well, he was batting for GST tax reform and retrospective taxes. He might as well have presented the budget, because these are the key highlights, won't they?
So let me just build on what Navika says.
Yeah.
So and let me potentially make a fool of myself by making a few predictions. I think first is, as far as Aam Aadmi is concerned, I think he is going to give some sops, especially to the 10% category of taxpayers, the lowest slab of taxpayers. He's going to give some sops.
So he's going to raise the exemption limit.
I suspect he will,
yeah.
Or at least give something to make them feel a little happier. It's not going to mean much in terms of revenue not got, but it will be a signal. As far as industry is concerned, I think he's going to come up with a fairly clear reform map. At least I hope he will. And I certainly hope he absolutely and categorically gets rid of the retrospective tax legislation.
Yes.
It is going to be totally fundamental for reforms in India.
We can bet on it. It's coming.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm saying that
absolutely.
that I believe is on the cards. I do
Is
believe
that very significant in terms of
it's
improving India's
huge.
image
It's
globally?
huge. People have no idea since the time Pranab Mukherjee introduced it, how much that alone has played a role in destroying our credibility. It's huge. There is still a bunch of guys in the North Bloc who are still desperate to get some taxes, some revenue out of this.
Don't tell me people actually believe this is, we are going to forego revenue.
No, so one of the things...
Bureaucrats actually think like that?
Yes,
Not look at the
yes,
long-term
absolutely they do. I mean,
They
many of them do, and there's been a strong pushback on this not to do it. But I think this is going to happen, and I would be very surprised if it's not there. And I would actually rate it very poorly if it is not his budget. The third aspect is he's going to come up with a set of reforms, which are not immediate as far as the budget is concerned, but things that will be played out in the course of this year and part of next year. The fourth is you'll see a much larger disinvestment target because he needs it. And there is absolutely no reason for government to have the kind of holdings it has in many public sector undertakings and banks. And finally, I think he's going to give some extremely tough messages. If I were him, I would honestly explain how the exchequer has been badly destroyed over the last 3.5, 4 years, starting with the gentleman who sits on the top of Raisina Hill, and also in large measure Mr. Chidambaram, particularly in his last year. Say why 4.1% fiscal deficit is not possible, and why you should have a more realistic deficit where by transparent revenue collection and transparent expenditure, he comes to a certain number. And I expect that number to be in the region of not 4.1, but around 4.6 or 4.7%.
Okay, so you put it out very broadly. You addressed all three issues. Let's go a little bit more into detail. There are other parts also that he would be expected to do for corporate India. For example, we haven't looked yet at this whole roadmap for GST introduction, but Lord Meghnad, this at a very broad level. I talked of three constituencies. What can he do for all three or either of them?
I think very much like what Navika and Omkar said, he hasn't got much room. First thing he has to say early on is, I have been left with a completely empty coffers. If not, I'm in deep debt. And therefore, whatever I can give, I have to give prudently and wisely. A finance minister is not meant to be popular. A popular finance minister is not doing his job, in my view. So he will give things which don't cost him very much but look good, like raising the income tax threshold. And I think there was this idea that quite a lot of indirect taxes don't yield very much. They can easily be removed, depending on whether the states have to be consulted or not. A lot of sort of indirect taxes, apparently 93 out of 100 don't yield very much. I think Rajiv will know more about that. You can remove that. GST has to be either promised or launched, pending stuff. And then I think he has to say the disinvestment is not only a strategic option, not just a tactical option, it is a strategic option. That this is the government which owes nothing to Fabian socialism. We don't believe in commanding heights. Even the commanding depths are being owned by the government, and we've got to get rid of that, especially because the banking sector has to be reformed and sold off. Otherwise, we're going to have serious trouble. So I think he will have to highlight those oncoming reforms. And lastly, I think I'm hoping that he would signal that there will be a switch from subsidies to direct cash transfers as soon as he can get it done.
So I suspect, Meghnad, I suspect that this wonderful news that one has heard and has been, stated very clearly by the Prime Minister that Aadhaar will continue, I suspect this government is going fully for direct transfers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's all over the economic survey. In fact, in the economic survey yesterday makes that intent very clear. It says they're going to move away from price interventions to direct income transfers. And that is something that the finance minister is likely to present in his budget.
Yeah.
Right. So let's get Sanjeev, what would be the headline the world expects out of this budget?
First of all, the most important thing here, whether it's corporates, international investors, or domestic investors, I think what they want is a clear roadmap. I think Dr. Goswami pointed that out. A clear roadmap, what will happen step by step. Everybody understands that the underlying constraints of the system as it stands, I think the growth rate right now, given the drought situation, perhaps is now probably going to drop below 4% if this drought condition continues. Wow. So I think this is something that needs to be recognized. So nobody is looking for some miracle that gets the economy going now. They want a clear roadmap. That's number one. Number two, oddly enough, I think the corporate sector would actually be unhappy in the taking a broader perspective, if they're given SOPs. What they want is simplification of the tax system, not specific SOPs for anything. So while an
go into detail in
rather than give any individual industry or company or whatever certain kinds of SOPs, the message that would go out is that, you know, this is the same kind of old style. Okay, let's get this economy going, give them a little money here or there. That is precisely not what a 5-year map is supposed to be. What you want is a radical simplification. As you just heard, most of the taxes are actually not transparent, getting in the way and not generating very much revenue. Exactly. Just getting rid of them alone is a good thing. Another thing which I think should happen, and this is, I argued this earlier as well, I am a big votary of the direct tax system being radically simplified. Yeah. Radically, I mean pushing the minimum threshold, the standard deduction, I would argue as high as 8 lakhs because, frankly, the amount of taxes collected below that is very little. Then take the peak rate down to only 25 and then get rid of every single exemption there is in the tax system. I know Dr. Kumar here will completely disagree with me, but there is.
He won't mind. Nobody minds.
No, I would mind.
He will mind.
You raise the exemption limit to 8 lakhs in a country where the per capita income is 70,000.
No, but he's
just doesn't
get rid of every exemption. Let
him argue his point.
My point is most of the taxes.
Having this debate for the last 2 programs. Yes.
Most of the tax machinery is going around bothering basically salary earners and not generating very much tax. Yeah. Instead, what you need to do is to take this tax machinery and go after people who are not paying taxes at all. It's impossible that there are only 4 lakh people in this country who have taxable income of 20 lakhs. That many people you should be able to get in South Delhi. Yeah. So, you know, frankly, you need to get this machinery pointing in the right direction rather than wasting time on poor salary earners.
But it can equally be argued the bulk of the taxes should not be coming from the high earners. We've created this lopsided system, and by your
no, what is happening is this.
Formula of correcting it.
No. So my point is this: it is not. See, there is a tiny number of high earners who pay the thing. What is happening is that the bulk of the high earners are not paying any tax at all. They're not in the system. So what I'm saying is take the system, take the machinery, which is right now largely used to harass salary owners, take that machinery, point it towards those high earners, and there are lots of them who are not paying any tax at all.
Yeah. So, you know, I think we have more or less agreed on what Jaitley needs to do, and I think we have a sense of what he's going to do. He's going to announce some level of tax reform.
In fact, I don't think we have discussed the very important issue, which is that Jaitley and Mr. Modi cannot afford to look, certainly can't afford to look anti-poor, and would like to look pro-poor, because that was his first speech in the parliament.
Absolutely.
That this government has that to be of the poor. So there, for example, the important thing is he has to increase expenditure on social sectors, and he has to find money for infrastructure, because those are the 2 important things for the poor and for generating employment and getting the economy back on track, apart from attracting private investment. Now, for this, he has to mobilize his resources. Where does he get that from? And agreeing with Sanjeev here, which is that he should go after those who are out of the tax net at the moment. Services sector contributes 60% to the GDP, has 12% to the tax revenues. Lawyers, accountants, architects, chartered accountants, all of those they're not there at all. Now, therefore, what I think he would do, he should do three things. One, he should announce a commission to reform this direct tax system. Just clean it up, because it's not the salary to a hassle, because our tax gets deducted at source. It is the small entrepreneur who is the worst affected. They kill him, they harass him, they do the raids on him. So that's one part of it. So announce a commission for direct tax reform, like Chalaya Commission did for the indirect taxes. Second, he should say that this government will bring the necessary legislation for the constitutional amendment of the GST in this current session itself. That's what you're looking for. And third, he should, of course, remove the retroactive tax, but along with that, he should also talk about transfer pricing, which is the biggest hassle that you've got today, and the tax sort of guys go after him. And the last one, as I said earlier, in the reform of the tax system, he should just say that I do not want this pernicious system of making extraordinary demands on the businessman in the fourth quarter. And